Order. We start with questions to the Secretary of State for Scotland, Peter Bedford.
Question 1, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you will allow me, it seems fitting to begin by congratulating the Scottish men's football team on qualifying for the World Cup next year. For the first time since 1998, when I, along with the Tartan Army, watched them in France, we will be back on the world's largest stage. Steve Clarke and the team are truly history makers, and we are very, very proud of them. With permission, Mr. Speaker, I will answer questions 1, 14 and 15 together. Alas, today Scotland is being held back by the Scottish Government's dogmatic opposition to nuclear power. New nuclear projects can deliver millions of pounds of investment and thousands of high-quality jobs and apprentices. Scotland is well placed to benefit from the jobs, investment and energy security that nuclear can provide, but frankly, we need a change at Holyrood.
Peter Bedford.
Mr. Speaker, what discussions has the Secretary of State had with the SNP government in Scotland, whose Luddite approach and ideological blinkers prevent Torness, Dounreay and Hunterston being considered for future nuclear projects, with all the jobs and investment that goes with them?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this seems at least an occasion on which there's a genuine cross-party consensus. Not only have we urged, and I do so again today, a different approach from the Scottish Government, but my friend, the Secretary of State for Energy and Net Zero, capability for new build nuclear sites.
Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Secretary of State not agree that actually renewables require a considerable expense in connecting to the grid? And would not the former nuclear sites of Hunterston, Torness and Dounreay make very suitable sites for new nuclear power stations from which the Scottish people have benefited hugely in the past?
Mr. Speaker, I should declare an interest in that Torness is, of course, in Lothian East, my own constituency. It provides about 750 well-paid, highly paid unionised jobs. Of course, we would welcome the opportunity either for AMR, SMR or new build nuclear on the Torness site. But when you talk to the EDF management there, they say the opposition of the Scottish Government is what is preventing equivalent investment from the kind that we saw recently announced at Torness's sister plant in Hartlepool.
Mr. Griffiths.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Number 15, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A key plank of the SNP's dogmatic argument against new nuclear is cost. Will the right honourable gentleman find a quiet moment, perhaps when the winds fall light and the turbines stop, to point out to them the reduced costs of small modular reactors?
Well, of course, there's new technologies emerging, as the Honourable Lady recognises, and we are delighted that Rolls-Royce are one of the companies in the lead in terms of that new wave of nuclear technology. But you don't even need to look to the future. Look at the most recent past, where there are occasions where the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. In Scotland, that's why Torness provides significant baseload capability. We see new build nuclear as being an essential part of that energy mix going forward. Alas, the Scottish Government don't understand that.
Peter Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Minister agree that Scotland cannot meet its long-term energy security and net zero goals without new nuclear power, and that centres such as the University of Strathclyde's internationally recognised PNDC, whose expertise in grid integration and systems resilience is world-leading, will be essential to the safe and effective deployment of next-gen nuclear technologies across Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, I wholeheartedly agree with my honourable friend that the expertise of our research centres here in the United Kingdom, including the University of Strathclyde's PNDC, is absolutely critical. The crucial research that they are undertaking will help further the safe and effective deployment of new nuclear technology. We are watching a wave of nuclear technological innovation around the world. Alas, we need to make sure that not just our universities but our communities across Scotland can benefit from that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Last week I spoke to trade unions in Scotland who argued the ideological ban on nuclear power is costing young people career opportunities for well-paid and long-term jobs. In my own constituency, an SNP councillor is spreading misinformation and arguing against highly skilled nuclear jobs, safely dismantling submarines at Rosyth. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that this pervasive and misinformed approach is holding back our country? And will he urge the First Minister to distance himself from the comments of the councillors in my constituency and welcome these jobs to Rosyth?
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course I condemn such misinformation. The reality is, as a government, we're investing £340 million in the Rosyth dockyard. I was in Fife on Monday, met with Fife College, with Fife Chamber of Commerce, with Babcock's, with Navantia from down the coast. There is a huge level of investment going in, but alas, we're in a position where the Scottish Government seems resistant to harnessing the potential of defence growth deals to secure new opportunities, not least for apprentices in Scotland.
Johnny Reid.
Mr. Speaker, since my election I've met with many employers, both local and national, who have expressed, to put in parliamentary terms, frustration at the SNP's lack of no-nuclear policy. This is stopping my constituents from getting access to high-quality jobs and preventing investment as well. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that this is a political choice which is stopping Scotland from actively receiving good quality jobs and investment?
Mr. Speaker, I find myself in agreement with my honourable friend. This is not just an anti-jobs measure by the Scottish Government. I would argue it's an anti-science measure. Let's remember, nuclear power is carbon-free. Given the challenge that we face in relation to climate change, why would you want to resist a technology that can provide reliable, safe and cheap carbon-free energy for decades to come?
Secretary of State Andrew Barr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I join the Secretary of State in congratulating Steve Clark and the Scotland football team for qualifying for their first World Cup since I was 11 years old. I very much remember getting the afternoon off of school, and I hope that the Speaker takes the same approach to the parliamentary days my head teacher took to the school day when we do have our first game next year. Scotland has a long, proud history of nuclear power generation. We have the schools, the sites, and indeed the local support, but we also have in the SNP Scottish Government a Luddite mentality, choking off investment, preventing new jobs, and going against the wishes of local communities like those in Dunbar that I know the Secretary of State knows well, who want to see Torness secured for future generations. So what does the Secretary of State think it will take for the SNP to join that growing list of countries around the world and allow the global revolution in clean, safe nuclear power to reach Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to tell the honourable gentleman what I think it will take. I think it will take a change of government next May, and it's time for a new direction in Scotland.
Question number 2.
Secretary of State.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'll answer questions 2, 10 and 12 together. Over the last year, we've increased the national living wage, a pay rise for 200,000 of the lowest paid Scots, delivered a generational upgrade to workers' rights, had 5 interest rate cuts, and of course expanded the Warm Home Discount Scheme, meaning 1 in 5 Scottish households are getting £150 off their bills. But we do need to go further and faster, and the Chancellor has pledged targeted action to bring down inflation further.
Ms Savile-Roberts.
Does indeed need to go further. The Scottish Government this morning laid the regulations necessary to mitigate the 2-child cap brought in by Labour and carried on by Labour. Scotland is the only part of the UK where child poverty is falling. It's the only part of Great Britain with a non-Labour government. Does he recognise the huge role played by the Scottish child payment in tackling poverty head-on? And does he agree with me that Labour in Cardiff Bay and Labour and Westminster should follow the Scottish Government's lead?
He won't agree, though.
As part of a government that saw child poverty fall significantly, I believe that we will be true to that commitment. I hope there may be more for the Chancellor to say in the coming minutes, but you can be assured that we welcome all measures that reduce child poverty after many years in which tragically we've seen poverty rise.
Mr. Black.
In the 16 months then since the King's speech, when Labour MPs were whipped to vote against scrapping the 2-child cap, how many children have been pitched into poverty as a result of his refusal to scrap the cap?
Here.
Mr. Speaker, we've always been clear that we wanted to take action on the basis of sound public finances. That is why it is a Labour government that has been willing to take the difficult and challenging steps. I'm old enough to remember the criticism from those benches after 1997, and we went on to lift record number of kids out of poverty. That's why I welcome the approach that's been taken by our Chancellor.
Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's just over 500 days since this government came to power, and the Chancellor's and the government's policies have been a disaster for the northeast of Scotland. with the cost of living problems, whether that's the impact of our national insurance hikes on jobs and investment, the family farm tax on the agricultural sector, the energy profits levy, which is killing jobs in the offshore sector, or the raw deal offered to our fishing industry with the Coastal Growth Fund. Can the Secretary of State tell me and the House, should we expect the Chancellor to fix this mess that she has made, or will this budget be another failure for the people of the North East?
Too long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It won't surprise you that I'm not going to prejudge the announcements the Chancellor will be making from this dispatch box in just a few minutes' time, but I certainly don't recognise the characterisation he's offered of the first 15 so months of this Labour government. It was always going to take more than 18 months to undo the damage of the last 18 years. What we've seen is 200,000 Scots already lifted out of poverty, record rises in the national minimum wage, and that work will continue.
Mr. Speaker, this government is embarking on delivering the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. Which will provide income security for many in my Edinburgh North and Leith constituency. I'm not surprised that Conservative peers are blocking it in the other place. However, we, my right honourable friends, share my constituents' shock that Liberal Democrats and now the Green members are too.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to say I'm shocked and surprised, but very little the Liberal Democrats do can shock or surprise me. The truth is the bill is expected to benefit people in the most deprived areas of the country by up to £600 in lost income from the hidden costs of insecure work. That's exactly the work we as a Labour government are called to tackle.
Speaker, what discussions has the Secretary of State had with the Chancellor of the Exchequer about the impact for Scotland from the increase in the national living wage?
Mr. Speaker, there were discussions in the Cabinet involving myself and the Chancellor of the Exchequer only this morning, but I would certainly pay tribute to the work that she and others in government have done, ensuring both that upgrade in workers' rights and that pay rise for the 200,000 poorest paid Scots.
Stephen Giffin.
Mr. Speaker, can the Secretary of State tell us by how much household energy bills have risen since Labour came to power?
Good question. Mr. Speaker, I hope we'll be hearing more about energy bills later this afternoon.
Stephen Giffin.
So the Secretary of State clearly doesn't know. I'm going to help him. They've risen by £187 for the average household, with more rises due on the way. Now, the Secretary of State might also want to know that today is National Energy Action's Fuel Poverty Awareness Day. Scotland is one of the most energy-rich parts of Europe, with our renewables and our hydrocarbons that the Treasury has benefited from over the years. Does he get the frustration of this government when it comes to the cost of living on fuel poverty, food prices and child poverty due to Tory policies that they've maintained?
Mr. Speaker, this is a government that has taken action and will continue to take action. In his rather partial account, he missed out the around 530,000 households in Scotland that are already benefiting in relation to the £150 off their energy bills this winter, and I hope that we'll hear more today.
Jerome Mayo.
Number 3, sir.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the last year, this government has taken action to fix the foundations of our economy, to put the public finances on a sustainable path.
This is a laptop. It can do all your laptop things. Browse, private browse, create and stream movies from that sketchy website. This laptop can do everything a brand new laptop can. But there's just one difference. This laptop costs up to 50% less because it's not new. It's verified with...
There is more to do. The recently published Muscatelli report shows that under the SNP, economic growth has been ignored and the unique potential of communities across Scotland has been held back. That's why today the Chancellor will set out a budget to boost economic growth in each and every part of the UK.
Mr. Speaker, the latest growth figures in Scotland have been terrible, just 0.2%. They're even worse than Labour's figures for England of 0.3%. So what has been more damaging to the Scottish economy? Has it been SNP policies in Holyrood, or is it the Labour policies here in Whitehall?
Mr. Speaker, the SNP government is clearly not doing what is required to drive growth in Scotland. But I would say to the honourable member, we are dealing with the legacy of Conservative economic mismanagement of 14 years. They are catastrophic catastrophic policy of austerity, their mismanagement of the pandemic and a failed Brexit deal. And you don't just have to take my word for it. The present leader of the Conservative Party has been clear the Conservatives have no plan for growth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does my honourable friend share my regret that rather than building 39 new health centres, or building 30 new primary schools, or employing 23,700 nurses in our NHS, that the Scottish Government has been content to keep £1 billion of an underspend rather than investing that money in Scottish public services and having a consequential effect on Scotland's economy?
Mr. Speaker, I couldn't agree more. Since the election, this government has delivered an extra £5.2 billion of funding for the Scottish Government. It should be making life easier for Scots, but it's being completely wasted by the